Today we're gonna install a coil onto a Briggs Stratton 42A, a 707 opposed twin.
Hi guys, so today we're going to be installing an Oregon coil. I'll pull that up so that you can see the model number. I'll also post it in the description. The thing to remember while doing these coils is they're pretty simple. Basically, you want to remember that opposites attract. Whatever side it's coming out on the coil is the opposite of what side on the engine it's on. So if it's coming out of the right, it's actually on the left. It's coming out of the left, it's actually on the right. Otherwise than that, there's this one black wire that you have to connect. And rather than taking all of this sheet metal off, as long as you're careful about it, you can just give it a slight little bit of a pull and be able to pull everything out through the side right here. So from there, you just simply pull off the spark plug wires and then undo your 2 bolts on the coil. Those would happen to be 5/16. And I'm going to stop it here while I undo those and then get the 2 bolts back in, and I'll show you how to space it out. And while you're here, once you got it disconnected, you need to be sure to pull off this little connector. So stick your thumb into one side and then a finger into the other, and then just give it a tug from the other side. It takes a little bit of skill to figure out, but basically it's thumb in, finger in, and then turn your knuckles and it'll pop out. From there, you've got your coil out. Once you've got your coil off, if you have rust across your flywheel, it's easier on the side that the starter is on, because then you can palm it and be able to rotate it and be able to sand off all of this rust. You want to make sure you get this down so that the surface is nice and easy for the coil to pass over. Usually in most situations, 150 will take it off without too much of an issue. If you find that you're having to use something stronger, then you may want to double check the surface isn't totally warped. Alright guys, so we actually discovered that this Oregon, on its black connection, it had the regular screw down connections and stuff for the older style. So what I've done is I've cut them off and I've put a crimp here, and I'm going to take the live coil here and I'm just going to cut it off and scrape it down, and that way all I got to do is just crimp it once I get it put in. Alright, so basically from here you set it on and make sure your 2 wires are coming out and around and slightly underneath. And then from there you want to slowly put your bolts in. Alright, so from here, once you get these loosely put on, which I actually recommend one of these palm ratchets for, because then it's nice and easy and you don't over torque it. Get it loosely put on. And then you have to space it. And ironically, the box is actually your spacer. Take this top lid, tear it off, throw the rest of the box aside, and set this down in. It's already the width of the coil from packaging. Now take the coil and press it as tight up as you can so that the box is mashed into the flywheel, and then tighten it down. Remember, once you start to get it tightened down, to go back and forth. It's aluminum mount screws underneath, and you don't want to over torque and snap them off. Once that's in there, just give it a tug and it comes right out and you're already spaced. Always double check and spin your flywheel once or twice just to make sure. So at this point, all we got to do is run the coil wires. Remember, opposites attract. Your opposite from this is this side, your opposite from that is that side. Simply connect them up. And from there, you're ready to test fire. Okay, got brake all the way down? Well guys, as you can see, I did manage to get it up and running, but what ended up happening was that this piston on this side had a ring that was slightly misseated, or it may have just been carboned up to the point it was unusable. So what I did was I pulled out the spark plug, and I took it and I sprayed the entire cylinder as full as I could with brake cleaner or carb cleaner. Make sure not to use brake cleaner. I don't really feel like getting into why right now, but always use carb cleaner if you're going to potentially burn it. But basically I filled it up with that, and I turned it over by hand a couple of dozen times, and you could actually hear the ring getting better and better and better, and then it fired right up.